The universe isn't just out there, it's interacting with you. Claim your power by embracing the unknown. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, and I'm here to ignite your curiosity. Don't just listen, embrace it. My subscription to my dating app is ending, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I've been thinking about this need inside of me to find a partner. And there are so many unfulfilled things in my mind, in my imagination, in my world that I feel like I need somebody in my life. And I know it's complicated. I'm not going to be happier. I know that I'm not necessarily going to be loved more. I mean, I get it. I get it that at some level I am still romanticizing the idea of having a partner. I have had a 3-month subscription to this app. And while it didn't really prove anything, or I didn't have any dates, and I didn't really meet anybody, I will say that I figured out more about myself. And I do this every single time because it's not until somebody types something in their profile that I'm like, oh my God, why would you do that? Or, ooh, I really do like that. I think that would be a really good quality to have in a partner. And so in one sense, it did help me clarify more about myself. But I don't necessarily think that my happiness is dependent or should be dependent upon having a partner. I mean, I'm sure there's my married friends that are listening are probably not going to be happy with this next part of the segment or the podcast. But I have so many married couples that are friends, that are family, that are acquaintances that I have been able to look into their marriage. And these people aren't happy. These people aren't living some fantasy life. I mean, I know so many people that are married, that have been in therapy, that are currently in therapy, or the rest should be in therapy. I have personal knowledge of couples who don't have anything in common. They don't have the same hobbies. They don't want to do the same thing. They don't communicate. They don't want to talk about their feelings. They want to redirect. They want to gaslight. They want to just ignore the problem. Why is it in my brain that I feel like having a partner is going to solve anything in my life or fix anything in my life? The only thing that there is a possibility for is sharing the expenses if by chance I would happen to move in with somebody. But that's a very slim chance that I'm ever going to live with another person again. I don't want to share my bed. I don't want to negotiate on how much space I'm taking, the covers. I don't want to negotiate on the TV's not going to run all night. The fan's not going to run all night. I mean, I would rather have my animals on the bed creating noise and movement than have a man next to me. Nothing about that sounds good. I have this one acquaintance that he comes to the social events. He invites her to come along to join him. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to get out of the house. And the last time I talked to this person, he said that she actually is complaining about how I breathe. I literally laughed out loud. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, does she just want you to move out? I mean, you can't control how it is you breathe. I know couples who don't watch the same programs. They don't have the same interests. They don't have the same hobbies. They don't want to do any of the same things. So it makes me wonder, did we, as when we were dating, did we completely pretend on who we are and what we really want in life just to find a partner? Did we pretend to be somebody that we aren't? And how is that healthy? How is it healthy to stay with somebody that you don't even enjoy doing the same things just because you don't want to find somebody new, just because you don't want to get divorced? And if anything, it reinforces that belief in me that marriage and this legal contract is completely outdated. If I was sitting here and I could name all of these couples that had an amazing marriage, that loved each other, that supported each other, then I wouldn't be saying these words. But I have so many examples of couples that just nag and bitch at each other. Like that's the hobby. Once you get married, the hobby is now to just bitch constantly at your partner. What kind of life is that? How is that fun? How can you honestly sit there and tell me that is a good marriage with a straight face? And I have people that tell me that with a straight face. On one hand, I am just relieved to have the app go away. I mean, I probably could try to write off the subscription fee as a business need because I have used it for business purposes to create content. So, I mean, if I think about it that way, I don't know. I think I could, continue to have it just for business purposes only, right? And maybe this unmet need inside of me is this romantic version that is somewhere in my DNA, and I'm just trying to find this way of life that doesn't really exist. And that's all I can think of is this illusion that I have been hoping for probably will never come to fruition in the way that I think that it should. And I'm sure there are lots of couples out there who love each other, who are affectionate to each other, who support each other, who have the same hobbies and interests. But there is also something to having diverse interests and kind of going on your own adventures and then coming back together and having more topics of discussion. I get that. I understand that there is probably some healthy aspects to not having and liking everything that your partner does. But again and again and again, when I continue to review the relationships that I have around me that are examples, I have to remind myself that's not where I want to be in life. I don't want to have somebody that's going to nag me because I don't immediately put my shoes away. I don't want to have somebody tell me that we can't do this because I have allotted so much money this week for eating out, and so we just can't do it this week. Or I'm just going to sit here and binge watch some crime show, and I'm never going to watch a crime show, ever. And I can't help but wonder, why is it that there's still something in me that wants a partner? And is that need, it's probably never going to be met. And how can I navigate myself around that? I did hear a statistic from another content creator, and he approaches the dating crisis more from the male perspective. And when males aren't in relationships or they don't have jobs and they don't have goals, that they tend to fall into the less desirable characteristics that we're seeing play out. He quoted a statistic that single women live longer than married women. And it wasn't a lot, but still, it was a noticeable difference that my married friends are not going to live as long as I am because I don't have somebody bitching at me, and I'm not spending my days bitching at somebody. I don't want to do that. I don't want to babysit. I don't want to beg for attention. I don't want to beg for you to communicate with me. The one man that I ended up connecting with on the app, him and I have briefly communicated. We haven't really said much, anything personal. It was more of just, high level. What do you do? How are you? And those sorts of things. Nothing personal, nothing that really is going to get us into the weeds to try to even develop a relationship or a connection. The last time that I messaged him, I really felt into my body, and it wasn't a good feeling. It's not a good feeling to try to connect with somebody on an app and through an app and learn about them. I mean, there's so much in me that distrusts everything that's said, because I know men in my age group and in my area and my social network who I know are communicating, trying to communicate with women. And I have seen a different side, that so many of them are connecting on these social media sites, and they're liking posts, and they're sending snaps, and they're just doing all of these little things that, again, they dismiss as it doesn't matter. But it does. It does matter. I am at peace with how I'm ending up on this process. Have I learned some things about myself? I don't know. Maybe something. Maybe I can reflect on that at another point. But I have realized I am at a good place. I don't hate being single. I don't hate having freedom. I don't hate that some of my nights I don't have exciting plans. I don't hate all of these things about my life. There are brief moments where I feel like it would be helpful if I had a partner. It would be nice if I had a partner. And maybe that's what I just need to be looking for, is a friend. A friend that I can have dinner with on a regular basis. Maybe we can vacation together. And it would be different if I had some examples of people in my life that I could really just look at and celebrate as having a healthy, supportive marriage. And I don't. And what does that say? What does that really say? I mean, certainly there are people around me that I can pick and choose. There are qualities within the relationship that are admirable, that I see as important. But at the end of the day, are those couple of qualities going to outweigh all of the things that seem to be negative? A moment of clarity that I don't even want to have to work at something so hard. And I hear people say that marriage is work. And it's not that I'm lazy. I just don't feel like if we have to work so hard at finding common ground, if we have to work so hard at connecting, if we have to work so hard at being loving and supportive, then it makes me believe that I'm not with the right person. You aren't with the right person. You aren't. If you have to work hard to find something nice to say to your partner, that tells me you aren't with the right person. And so then I'm questioning, why am I even striving for a relationship? Why am I even trying to connect with somebody on that level? I don't know. But I think I'm at a good place now. This last app was the third one in a series. The first one was just horrible, but I'm sure there's some lovely men out there. I'm sure there are some men that liked my pictures that maybe we could have some sort of a friendship, a connection. But just getting to that point of getting to know somebody and opening myself up again, being vulnerable, it just is not something that I feel like is worth the risk. There's a lot of risk in being vulnerable and opening up. And I know people are like, well, it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. You have to open up and be willing to be vulnerable before you know. But then if you open up to the wrong person, then you get hurt again. And so I don't have any answers. I was talking to someone else recently. And, I love it when I'm talking to guys, especially, and they're like, I don't know, I shouldn't be telling you this. And it's like, dude, just tell me. It doesn't matter, whatever. And this person and I have a mutual acquaintance. And he started out by saying, well, when they started dating, he was sharing information at work about her, and it was about their sex life. And in my heart, I just felt the sink, and I just felt the hurt and the betrayal and everything that women feel when we either experience that or we know somebody who does. And it just took me back to all of those times in relationships where I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel understood. I didn't feel heard. Like, how can you not know that I don't want you telling everybody what we're doing? How can you not know that? And why do I specifically have to state that? And if you really cared about me and my feelings and our relationship and who I am, then wouldn't you just keep that secret? And then I go to the man and I'm like, are you such a small little man? Is your ego so weak that you have to resort back to the 15-year-old version of yourself when you're in the locker room? And you have to pump yourself up with the guys. Yeah, I got her. And she was great and she was a freak. And when I heard that, it was like one of those moments where, you know what? I don't want to try to put myself out there with men who still don't understand, who don't get it, who want a mom, who want a freak, but then they don't want to commit. They don't want to be supportive and protective and nurturing. They just want the freak. And somebody who washes their clothes and cooks their food and lets them do whatever. I don't know. It was just kind of like the cherry on the top this week when I was reflecting on Why am I doing this? And am I over this period of trying to find somebody? And I honestly feel like I am. I am over it. I got it out of my system. If there's somebody out there for me, he's going to have to be dropped, like right in front of me at the supermarket, going to have to be like dropped. Because it's really difficult to manufacture love and support and affection. It's really hard. It takes a lot. And I don't know that it's really what I want or what I need. I feel like there's this small little girl inside of me that was still craving some attention from when I was 8. I don't know. I think it has more to do with that than me being an insecure woman right now. I can show up at places. I can do things by myself. And you know what? The world isn't ending. It doesn't stop spinning when I show up single. And I'm witnessing so much how many people are still having to try to change and fit and be a different version of themselves so they can be in relationship with someone. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to tame the parts of me that are just wild. I don't want to tone down my passion and my purpose. I don't want to shrink myself for someone ever again. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. Friends can find Tracy Talks available on iTunes, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram and Facebook at More Tracy Talks. And until next time, we meet again.